is this the level that we can expect from him every season, or is this a sort of
You'd think so, wouldn't you?
Well, there's something about his character, isn't there, that makes you think this is going to be a guy that just bangs in goals for a decade.
Gentlemen, we are duty-bound to go to last night's Champions League action. Barcelona 1, Paris Saint-Germain 4. They are through, Jim Campbell. They are through. Paris Saint-Germain, is it their year?
It might be their year to get to the final.
Oh, I see. I see. They've done it before.
They have
Perhaps
done it
they'll
before.
do it again. What a match.
It was an incredible match, wasn't it? I mean, Barcelona seem to have replaced PSG as the sort of business end of the Champions League banter club, which they'll be gutted by, frankly.
Despite PSG's best efforts to be that in the first leg.
Yes, very much so. I really thought, as is so often the case, that you look at these fixtures and you think it's probably going to be Barcelona and it's probably going to be Atletico. But so often the Champions League throws up these topsy-turvy fixtures, and it was a great example of that as well. Obviously, Xavi's completely right. The sending off changed the game just immeasurably. But there was a sense, I think, that apart from maybe about 5 minutes directly after the red card, where you thought actually Barcelona looked pretty together, maybe they will be able to weather this. I think the problem is in a match like that, and this would have been the same for anyone across any of the fixtures, is that these games are played at such a breakneck pace.
Yeah.
They're so much faster than a regular game because you've got two elite teams going at each other at top speed.
And the pace of PSG as well.
Well, I mean,
so even within the context.
Of course, yeah. So you've got generally pacey teams at their top speed. And PSG just didn't slow the game down.
No.
And I think that was very smart in a way, actually, because they thought, you know what? We're probably better off overwhelming Barcelona here because they had to score 3 goals, right? I think they deserve an immense amount of credit for essentially not letting Barcelona have anything their way after that. They took the initiative, and it just seemed inevitable. And it was just, apart from a couple of times where Robert Lewandowski saw the headlines and maybe could have done better, they just really turned the screw.
They did, and Xavi was very angry.
He was, yeah. Enjoyably angry, actually.
I liked it.
Yeah.
I think if I was a Barcelona fan, I'd have liked it.
I wanted to, some of the clips of him going a bit nuts, I wanted to Chiellini him, pick him up and ruffle his hair.
Oh, I thought you
Give
meant
him a
like
little
pull his
squeeze.
shirt, grab him by the neck. Yeah.
But
It is the story of the Xavi.
But Jim's point's spot on, because I felt like if the roles were reversed, and I suppose it's a throwback to that famous game that they played out a few years ago, I don't think PSG would have been able to hold on to it, because this actually suited the fact that because they have quite a fast team and they constantly move forward.
Quite
it worked
fast.
quite well. Yeah. But it worked quite well for them, having to, I suppose, that element of desperation as well.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing I couldn't really get my head around was the Barcelona home game where the fans are anxious.
Yeah.
And fearful, obviously we know what's happened with this iteration of Barcelona, but the idea that PSG were able to run roughshod over them, and the identity of Barcelona as well, I thought it was really, really eerie in a way.
It's definitely a game where they missed Camp Nou. I don't think there's any doubt about that, because it's funny. Obviously, they're playing in Montjuic. They will be until the end of this calendar year, maybe a bit later. Builders, etc., etc.
Money as well, Andy. They're not good with money.
This is separate from normal Barcelona money. It's a separate project.
It's a separate lever.
Yes.
All right.
So
they've got to you as well.
Yeah, that's right. But I think you can not underestimate how damaging playing at Montjuic has been for this season, because it's a far smaller ground that the locals don't like, so they can't fill up.
Quite far away from the pitch and all that kind of cliche.
Yeah, that too as well, but quite physically far away from the centre of Barcelona. It's a bit of a ball ache to get out there, and people just don't like it, as well as the fact that it's associated with Espanyol as well.
Spanish fans famously don't travel. I mean, if you go to a Madrid derby, there's 200 Atletico Madrid fans if it's at the Bernabeu and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we are talking about home game here, obviously.
Yeah. No, but it's true though. They don't fancy it, Andy.
Yeah. Anyway, I think the interesting thing about this is it wasn't sold out. And
that is amazing, isn't it?
Obviously, part of that
surprised.
is the fact that the locals are so not into it.
We're not giving you our money. You can't be trusted with it.
Yeah, exactly. the ticket prices are pitched squarely at tourists. So you could get a ticket yesterday morning, cheapest ticket, This isn't in hospitality.
Mm.
Behind the goal, €349.
Oof. Couldn't happen to a nicer club.
Yeah.
You were talking about angry.
It's more than a club, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's also a building site.
it's more than €300 is what it is.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, it's... we mentioned PSG, and they do. Look, they've gone through. They've scored 4 goals, so they do deserve credit. And they are playing a good team. I think this idea that this Barcelona team is crap. They're in the Champions League because they won the league last season. They are second behind a very good Real Madrid side.
Yeah, their quality was on display even when they were chasing the game.
Exactly. Yeah, you look at some of the players. They go, but I still wasn't convinced by PSG. I don't know what it was. I think that
The game was turned by the red card, perhaps.
well, perhaps yeah.
It's impossible to get
Well, I
proper
mean-
measure, isn't it? Because they're not playing against.
They,
Everton.
but you
they
said
were
it,
better
Jim.
than they were better than last week, but that doesn't mean they were amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, Jim said it there. He'll think they'll get to the final. Basically, most people will think that the winner of this tournament will be from the other side of the draw, in a specific fixture on the other side of the draw. But I mean, you never know in a one-off game, of course. But what did you think about PSG, Andy?
I thought what Vish was saying and what Jim was saying actually is clear that actually without Messi and Neymar, it's much easier to put yourself in a position to win the Champions League because they're much more athletic.
So you
that
rate them, do you? You think that this is
I think this is a transitional season for them,
right? Okay.
and they're making the most of the fact that they've been drawn in the weaker half of the draw,
Mm-hmm.
and there are a lot of other European giants in sort of quite uncertain times. So
I think that's a fair way of
Bayern, for
summarising it,
example, are not the best Bayern. This is it's not a rubbish Barcelona, but it's not the best Barcelona. Real Madrid even are building towards something.
Yeah,
where
Manchester
they
United
get
already
Mbappe
out.
and all the rest of it. Yeah, exactly. But I think the point about Xavi going nuts is quite interesting. Funnily enough, he did exactly the same thing in the last round against Napoli, but didn't get a red card for it. Like he kicked that exact bit of Champions League branding by the side of the pitch.
Cannot do that.
Apparently not. Certainly not from the quarterfinals onwards. But what I'm enjoying more is Ilkay Gundogan turning into Roy Keane. Because like afterwards where he said, we gifted the game to PSG. Not the first time he's got stuck into his teammates this season. He said Araujo would have been better just letting Barcola go clean through than getting the red card.
And then he told him to stick it up his bollocks, didn't he?
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
Yeah, I don't
Is that why he had his dog with him?
He's currently on a long walk.
It wasn't a post-match press conference. He was getting doorsteps.
Yeah. Well, PSG have never come back to win a Champions League tie after losing the first leg. So again, you've got to give credit. They have gone through. Luis Enrique predicted they would do it before the game.
Yeah,
he looked like he had.
He was a dog with a number of appendages. wasn't he?
Yeah, and he'd had his head ruffled as well.
Yeah, he's very salty, isn't he? Before games, Luis Enrique. And I sort of enjoy that about him because actually in this competition, particularly at this stage and against this opposition, PSG need confidence. They really, really need it. It seems silly to say that about a team like them, and he's injected them with that there.
Well, guy who's done it.
Well, absolutely.
So
Yeah, it feels like their, I suppose like their confidence and their state of, I suppose, essentially their morale as a team has been beholden to individuals, and if he as a manager is able to instill that throughout the whole team, that's a huge thing. Even a result like this, they'll 10 years time, they'll look back on it and think, but we did that. We did that against the Barcelona team. We are,
Do remember though that this scoreline 4-1 that PSG have beaten Barcelona by is the same scoreline that Newcastle beat PSG by earlier on in the season. Lest we forget
Down to 8 men and 2 children. let's not forget.
that happened. Big Dan Burns scored against that lot.
Yeah, that feels a long time ago, doesn't it?
It feels like a long time ago, Jim. You're absolutely right. And of course, they will play Borussia Dortmund in the semi-final, who are also in Newcastle United's group. It could so easily have been Eddie Howe's men, if that's how football works, which I'm not sure it does. But yes, Dortmund beat Atletico Madrid 4-2, 5-4 on aggregate, of course, in a fascinating tie in Germany. And of course, like PSG, Dortmund were trailing coming into that second leg of this tie. And I remember watching the first leg, as I'm sure a lot of people did, and Atletico blew them away in that first half an hour, well, first half, really, you could say. And perhaps should have been maybe more than 2-0 up by the end of the game.
No, perhaps about it. How you can start a tie like this and end up losing it. Of all Atletico's Champions League disappointments, I think this is the worst.
You reckon that's up there?
Yeah, well, it is, and they've had those. When you sort of can't, the wider world can't quite get to the fact that teams have changed from their vintage selves.
Yeah.
So Barcelona have changed from their vintage selves.
Yeah.
And Atletico have changed from the team that got to the 2014 and 2016 finals. Because obviously they're an absolute mess at the back, but also they now have serial sort of form for making a mess of great Champions League opportunities. So you think of the COVID year when they went out to Leipzig, when they had it all in their hands. You think of the year before where they were 2-0 up from the first leg against Juventus, and then they absolutely capitulated to Ronaldo in the second leg. And this is perhaps worse than either of those from an Atletico perspective.
Well, especially having got themselves back into a position of going through, because away from home, they have been not that great. The home form in the Champions League, there are examples where it's been that fortress and they've done enough to go through. And you think to yourself, okay, well, they'll be playing for a draw in Dortmund. And they had it in their hands, but then Dortmund and their home crowd thought, no, I think we'll take this.
It's a pretty chaotic game, wasn't it? It started with Atletico missing a really good chance. With Dortmund missing a really good chance, and then Alvaro Morata missing a really good chance almost immediately. I think that was in the first 5 minutes. It was straight away like, this is going to be pretty back and forth and quite topsy-turvy, and so it proved to be. I thought Julian Brandt in particular stood out, and Sabitzer as well. The pair of them seem to be absolutely everywhere.
Brandt made a difference when he came on in the first leg, and so perhaps maybe they thought, well, perhaps we should start him. But yeah, and Sabitzer with a howitzer to win the tie. Vish, a player that you will remember, of course.
Yeah. I actually quite liked him, obviously because of what he did at Leipzig before. But I was like, oh, this could go quite well, and obviously it didn't. But that's no reflection on him at all.
None at all.
Yeah.
How good is Maatsen, by the way?
Yeah,
the idea
really
that you can get a lone player in from Chelsea of all teams, and he ends up being so important to your offense.
Well, they've also got a lone man in from Manchester United, of course.
Yeah,
in the form of Jadon Sancho.
Well, yeah, that's
he's having a lovely Champions League time.
He is. Yeah, I hope he's happy.
Oh dear, could go on and win it. Wouldn't that be something?
Maybe it would be. Yeah,
he's working hard to impress whoever the next manager is, though. So
that is it. Would he be welcome back at Manchester United if he turned up at the end of the season, Champions League winners' medal round his neck? All right, lads, what have you been up to?
I mean, in all seriousness, you'd have to, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
this is it.
You'd generally be foolhardy not to.
If he came back with a winners' medal of the Champions League and he just went, "Is it me or Eric, boys? You've got to decide."
Am I still having my lunch outside then? Is it in the hallway?
Oh, I tell you what, the reserve team will be wanting to have a photo with this, won't they?
Chocolate coin for pudding.
Yeah.
Oh dear, but they're in the semi-final, and it's I mean, both sides you would say. This is a winnable tie for each of them.
You think? I think.
Do you think PSG?
I think PSG are probably favourites here.
They will be favourites,
but because of the nature of this game, it was because they let Atletico back into it. Obviously, the own goal's a little bit unfortunate, but they still did it. And it was just very open, wasn't it? I think PSG are probably quite set up to they can play that game and they can score more. And I think they might also have the ability to contain Dortmund more than Dortmund will have to contain them.
And they're closer to being organised as well, PSG. I mean, Dortmund are chaos. What made this Dortmund-Atletico tie, especially this game, so much fun is they're like fun drunks, aren't they? Atletico used to be mean drunks, and now they're fun drunks. I think it's fair.
But they don't want to be that, do they?
No, they definitely don't want to be that. Diego Simeone doesn't want them to be that.
Yeah, it's like he's walking around the party going, "Oi, stop having a laugh, sober up."
But I think if you look at Dortmund's individuals, are excellent, and that's why they thrive in cups as opposed to the league under Edin Terzic. Because overall, I don't really see where the strategy is. I don't really see where the plan is. But they've got these high quality individuals that can produce these high quality moments.
Who would you fancy for it then, Andy? Straight away, if I may ask.
PSG.
Yeah. Okay.
Like I said, more organised.
Yeah, it would be quite something. It would be. I know big fans of big clubs don't like. People like me saying this, it would be good for football if Dortmund got to the final.
I think before this game, though, and maybe this was just me, but I think it's fairly indicative of what a lot of people would have thought. You'd have looked at these ties and thought it's Barcelona and Atletico going through. So actually, you don't know, do you? When you get to the business end, the away goals being taken away does seem to have made it a little bit more open.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's a great point, yeah.
Yeah, which
you don't know. Even if PSG seem like the favourites to us, we keep learning that
Indeed we do.
We simply cannot predict the future.
We can't. There was some good news for Atletico Madrid, though.
They're not wearing that kit ever again.
Oh, I know. What was that about?
Diego Simeone is
Awful.
going to play Kramer in the new Seinfeld. He looks more like Kramer every
Do you know
week,
what?
doesn't he?
Oh
Yeah.
God! Bursting into the dressing room.
Barcelona losing means that Atletico have confirmed their spot at the Club World Cup in 2025. They've done it. They've made the big one.
It's funny. It's easy to overlook because of all the clubs that would have wanted to be in the Club World Cup the most, Barcelona would be up there. Atleti only a little bit behind them
Because of the money.
because they're a financial mess as
Yeah.
well, and obviously it's overshadowed by Barcelona's levers, as Vish was saying.
Okay. You wouldn't want. I don't think would anybody want their club.
Well, yeah, I guess you'd have to treat it as like a pre-season. I mean, maybe obviously what FIFA want over time is that it will have huge prestige and everyone will want to be involved. But I think until the that proof emerges from the pudding,
Yes.
yeah, it just looks like a huge burden, doesn't it?
Have they not learned from the Confederations Cup?
They don't learn. They don't need to learn.
That's
Yeah.
true. Although actually, I quite like the
They
Confed
forget.
Cup.
FIFA,
Yeah.
They forget all the time.
Scrooge McDuck swimming around the vault, aren't they? No learning in there.
Every
Boring
day
learning.
is not a school day. All right, let's come back to domestic matters. Portsmouth sealed promotion in dramatic style last night, we have to say. Came back from 2-1 down to beat Barnsley 3-2. The 89th minute goal from Connor Shaughnessy was enough to get Portsmouth back into the Championship for the first time since 2012.
Very exciting, and they made it unnecessarily dramatic.
Yeah, but great
It's
stuff.
better that way, though.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Maybe like, how do we guarantee a pitch invasion? We'll probably get one. How do we absolutely
Yes.
guarantee
Yeah.
one?
Let's give them a head start.
Because we need to win today, don't we? Well, we can win. Nah, let's do it today.
Well, 'cause
Let's do it in the last minute.
that's it. Of course, they could have decided it on Saturday, couldn't
Yeah.
they? But to do it at home and to do it in this fashion is
People
far
always
more
say,
exciting.
and I understand why, when it comes to league titles and promotions and so on. No, I just want to get it done. I don't care about the home fans and all the rest of it. Come on. It's
Yeah.
always better in front of the home fans.
Really weird sensation seeing the, obviously when a big result like that comes and the benches usually are like priming themselves to run on.
Yeah.
So they're all kind of, spilling over onto the pitch. The fans were doing that yesterday.
Yeah, they were.
They were waiting for full time, already out of their seats basically on the side of the pitch.
Did anyone see Luke Moore? No.
No, I mean, I haven't seen him.
No, exactly.
know
Have we
he
seen the
wasn't
milk?
there.
Have we seen the?
Have we seen the
Milk
milky
man.
grandad?
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't heard whether he drank the 16-year-old milk, which was frozen, of course. Those who didn't hear that on Monday, there's a Portsmouth supporting grandad
That's either a hell of a hangover or a great cheese board, isn't it?
who tries to drink it, it boom and
Yeah.
knocks him out.
Sliced it up.
Who wants a piece? It's incredible though that they've been out of the Championship for that long.
It's absolutely surreal.
Not even the Premier League, the Championship.
Yeah,
That's how bad it was. I mean, since 2012. Remember, 2008 they won the FA Cup.
Yeah.
Was it 2010? They were in the final of the FA Cup. That's what, they plummeted quickly. You mentioned financial stuff with some of the Spanish clubs. I mean, my goodness, don't they know all about that?
Yeah.
So back into the Championship, which is there are some clubs that we think of. They're a Premier League club, and obviously you can make arguments or so. And I would say in the league, I don't know, you maybe say 10, 11 clubs you think are probably Premier League clubs, and there's maybe one or two like Leeds in the Championship. People think of them as a top tier club, even though they haven't been in the top tier for that amount. I think with Portsmouth, they're one of those clubs who, yes, they have we've seen them in the Premier League, but they are a Championship club.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I think really that it feels to me like they've learned a lot of lessons. Obviously, they've had time to learn those lessons. But I think if you look at the last little while, because of course they've come close-ish to becoming promoted before, like in the last couple of seasons, without quite getting there. There's almost been an inevitability to their failure. But you look at like some of the appointments and some of the signings of the last year and a half. Mousinho becoming the coach is
Done a wonderful job.
Is big. Yeah, and he wasn't the overwhelming choice. Certainly not of some fans. They weren't massively enthusiastic about it. But they've gone for the right people rather than the names. And you look at them signing Colby Bishop, who's scored a ton of goals this season, Marlon Pack, who's come in and done very well and is very experienced in League One and League Two. And it feels as if they've gone for horses for courses rather than thinking we're Portsmouth, we should be in the Championship. It's just been a far more sensible approach to it. And this is a bloody hard league to get out of because there are some monster clubs in that division. You can overlook that.
Well, I mean, Bolton they drew with the other week.
That's right. That's right. And there always are huge clubs in
Derby County
League
just
One.
below them, of course.
Exactly.
But I mean, John Mousinho as well. We should say that he's only 37. This is his first managerial job. You know, a remarkable start to his career. So it's glorious. You mentioned Marlon Pack there. He was seen doing a touching speech to fans inside a pub afterwards. He was interrupted by his teammate Joe Rafferty, who was mooning everyone in the background. The one of the finest moments of the man's career, and he's doing this thing. And
you can always crop the video. I mean, you know.
He looked really apologetic about it immediately.
Yeah.
Didn't he? He's like, sorry, mate. This is the one chance I had to get my bum out. I couldn't let it go.
He looked
Really
apologetic while he was still pulling up his trousers.
Yeah, which is a horrid set of events, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, it is. How about in League Two, gentlemen? Stockport County, they have won the league. They're going up. They've done it in great style. We mentioned Wrexham and being promoted at Mansfield Town as well, but Stockport County actually really are the story of that league.
Yeah.
I mean, 89 points, top of the shop. They've won the league, and my goodness.
In clinching it by giving Notts County an absolute hiding. And you kind of assumed at the start of the season that Notts County would be in that Stockport Wrexham zone, looking to go straight through the division as well.
Well, they got promoted from the National League last season.
But that's
Really
the thing.
impressive.
If you look at the budgets, you look at the size of the clubs.
Sure.
Everyone was looking at it at the start of the League Two season and thinking, not just Stockport, but particularly Notts County and Wrexham, they're going to be going all the way. And the Notts County have had a very, very disappointing second half of the season. But they're a big club; they get massive crowds.
Yeah, indeed. Stockport though, it's their third league title in 5 seasons.
Really impressive.
Amazing.
You carry that up, and you'll be champions of the Premier League.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
We've
you see.
beaten PSG in the Champions League finals, haven't they?
Sure enough. And if you're not,
Someone
then
has to.
Everyone gets a turn.
Before we go for a break, there was a match in Serbia that was stopped recently due to a pitch invasion from a snake. An actual snake, not some weedy little telltale rat.
Yeah.
Not someone who leaves your
switched
club.
teams, yeah. And pitch invasion is strong, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the snake was just sort of...
It's not like it was streaking.
Yeah. Also, like a
Shed its skin.
It wasn't
and knocked
watching.
it.
Yeah, that's how it was described. Yeah. It wasn't watching the game and thought, right, now's my chance. It's just it's an innocent bypasser, I think.
Is it natural?
It's not that innocent, is it? Because it bit the referee twice.
Well, some of the decisions that referee was given, Jim, it said about time someone took action. Yeah. The game couldn't resume until the referee picked up the snake and threw it off the pitch. But that's why there was the biting.
Presumably, it's not poisonous.
We genuinely don't
I just
know.
assume all
Let's hope
snakes.
he's
I
all
just
right.
assume all snakes are poisonous.
Nonsense! Snakes in this country aren't poisonous, are they?
They're all
Actually,
bastards,
no.
though, aren't they? So they might bite you.
there's that,
An adder is poisonous.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
if it's not fatal, I wouldn't have thought. Not in this country. Nothing can kill you other than the
We'll be finding out on today's Ramble Uncut.
The adder, was the adder the bad guy in The Animals of Farthingwood?
Are you thinking of blackadder?
No.
The grass
You thought
snakes
he
are
got
harmless.
Blackadder confused with the animals of Farthing Woods.
You won't believe what he gets confused sometimes.
The Animals of
Look at his
Farthingwood
voting
was
record.
it was very much the Game of Thrones of our childhood. And the adder was
Yes, yes.
I like
the adder
that.
was
Shout.
the big bad, if I remember right.
Have you ever seen a snake in this country? I've seen a grass
think
snake
so.
before.
Yeah, I've seen a
A
grass.
slow
But I mean-
worm, maybe.
But they are more like sort of worms, aren't they? Grass snakes, really. They're quite
well,
shiny.
No, but they're very clearly snakes.
Yeah, as in they're not. It's not like a python or something going through the
Well, yeah,
undergrowth.
yeah.
I have seen a dead adder before.
Yeah?
Right.
Yes, it was. I wasn't me who killed it, hence because I would have seen a live one. I would have,
Yeah.
But anyway, more of that kind of chat on Ramble Uncut. See you in a moment.
Step on its head.
Have you got a fresh box of lemons in the office, Harrison?
Of course, every few days. Now, from the beginning it was difficult because every day I need to change the lemon because the energy wasn't good. And now they can few days more, 3-4 days, and they stay fresh.
Welcome back to the Football Ramble, everybody. Poch and his lemons. Good to see he's doubling down.
It's all the madder because he's a very good manager. It's the sort of thing you expect from someone who's not. You'd expect this from Raymond Domenech. You know what I mean?
But it's not even the fact he's a good manager. Like he seems like a sane bloke.
Yeah. Apart from this one thing.
Yeah. I would
love
expect
it.
someone like old Raymond Domenech, but I wouldn't have expected this from Poch. But I think we're enjoying it, aren't we?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, okay, fine. Of course, Chelsea did beat Everton 6-0 on Monday night, and it was the Cole Palmer show once again.
Yeah, it's sort of rare that we delve back a few days to a result like this, isn't
But
it?
I think it's
they've
basically-
just forced their way in here.
It's because of Palmer.
Yeah, incredible stuff.
He plays the game as if he believes he's the best player in the world, but he's kind of like fairly sort of modest about that and not really that bothered, if you see what I mean. He's a remarkable player, the confidence he has, but yet the coolness, and as I say, the sort of non-arrogance, it does come across as confidence.
There's a sense, confidence doesn't feel right, does it? It's almost like a knowingness.
Yeah, but it's not.
But that is arrogant. So the reason, but not. It's not a bad
He's
thing.
He's not dislikable with it.
Yeah,
is what I'm trying, because we think
there is so much arrogance there.
Fine, but
Agreed.
I think when we think arrogant, we think dislikable and
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. And I don't want to say that
It's
because
not unfounded arrogance,
Yeah.
I think, is the point, isn't it?
Okay. I mean, he's now got 20 Premier League goals. He's a joint scorer along with Erling Haaland, of course. One of the Chelsea players signed Palmer's match ball with the words "shit player." Just a bit of banter
They're just children.
Some
Just
of
a
the
bit of
laughs,
banter.
yeah.
Hey, the Lemons need to get their act together because you need to stamp that kind of thing out.
Yeah.
He had to fend off Nicholas Jackson and Noni Madueke, of course, to score his fourth from the penalty spot. Do you know why he started taking penalties for Chelsea? Because he hadn't scored, and Raheem Sterling gave him the ball, back in the start of the season. So
Wow.
that's why he took the first penalty. He scored, and then they got another one. Forget who it was against, and he said to Sterling, can I have this one? And Sterling let him, and it seemed to be like, maybe we should keep him on penalties. Actually,
Yeah.
he scored 9.
He's completely kind of cold, isn't he, with it? He's
Oh, yeah.
so dead behind the eyes. Like
Cold
there was,
Palmer, they're going to call him.
Indeed, well,
Jim.
they do call him that already, don't they? There was the post-match interview after the Man United game with Jules where he was talking about the penalties. I was like, well, it's a penalty. I'm not going to miss that. It's like he doesn't.
Yeah.
It's like he doesn't know that you can miss. He's got this cast iron confidence. And the third goal was obviously the most special of them all, an amazing lob. And I thought when he hit that, he's hit that too high. And then it goes in, and I thought, who the hell am I to question
And he turned
what
around.
do I know?
He pointed at the camera as if to say, "I heard what you were thinking there, Jim." Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, unbelievable confidence, great at penalties.
And a brilliant signing by Chelsea,
Incredible.
which is
Absolutely
funny
masterstroke.
because if you, I think they've been rightly questioned for some of their signing policy, and they will continue to be because I think it will be quite a tricky summer from a PSR perspective. But I think it's a move where it's worked out perfectly for player and club, and it's given him the opportunity to show how good he is. Because you know what, if he'd have stayed at Manchester City this season, he would have got some games. But he wouldn't have got anywhere near enough games to be this influential. For him to be able to become the best player in the team, for him to have that not quite lack of leadership, but they're not so many leaders in that team that he has to defer to someone else. He's been able to take control. I think the penalty situation is quite an interesting example of that. Obviously, everyone's had their say and got stuck into Madueke and Jackson about it. But I think the way that he just sort of pushed them away and said, "Actually, I'm the man."
Yeah,
I think that was really great.
I
Actually.
love the fact that they just assumed, well, you've got your hat trick, therefore one of us will have.
Yeah.
this.
But why treat it like a testimonial?
Yeah,
I
well,
thought
It's a Premier League game.
I thought Conor Gallagher did quite well in that as well.
Yeah, he did. He did.
Because you're right in
captain.
terms of Palmer comes in and plays his card basically, and he's like, "Look, I am the penalty taker, so I'm going to supersede all this nonsense." But Gallagher did quite well. I totally agree with you about Palmer being, obviously a brilliant signing for Chelsea. They did get lucky though with him, didn't they? He was one of the last through the door.
Yeah.
They only went for him when it was clear he was available. It wasn't like they were working behind the scenes to make this work.
I think it can be, but like Mourinho coming to Chelsea in the first place in 2004, you can have a move by accident rather than design that turns out to be a brilliant one.
Yeah, of
can't you?
course. Yeah, I just
It's
find
like they shopped hungry and discovered their new favourite food.
yeah, 100%. Yeah, but there's also an element of like, I wonder what they'd look like if they hadn't have got him.
Yeah.
Well, also
yeah.
as well, I mean, it'll be intriguing to see how his career goes. We think, crying out loud, it should be very, very good indeed. There are parallels with Phil Foden in that Foden used to be given a few minutes here and there, and he was clearly very, very talented, a very good player. And Guardiola used to talk about him in very affectionately and so on. And I remember us saying, well, give him a chance, play him, but it just little by little. And now Foden is you might say one of the best players in the world. Would that have happened with Parma? Or I mean, it's not one size fits all, of course, but perhaps Guardiola maybe had that plan for Parma. Well, Parma's jumped ship, and he is playing like he's one of the best players in the league. It's interesting to see how things will develop.
It was almost like it could have been it was like the Jadon Sancho situation.
Well, I suppose when you've got so many players,
yeah, but like Guardiola was like profoundly shocked when Jadon Sancho decided to leave. That really, I think, that really set him aback, and it affected the way he dealt with young players in the future. But bear in mind, at the start of this season, Parma had the choice to follow that Foden route, didn't he? Because the club said to him, "Well, we're not going to loan you out. Either you stay or we're going to sell you."
Cash in on you.
And he chose to go because he felt he needed to go and play. So I think it's sort of like a critical mass, isn't it? He's someone who's taken leadership and responsibility at Chelsea. One, because that's what the team needs, and also because that's what he needs. You know, he felt that he needed to go out and play all the time, and you know that's why he made like quite a difficult decision. I think it would have been easy to stay and go, follow that. Not easy, but I think it would have been natural to stay and, like as you say, follow that Foden route. But he was impatient, and he's proved, I guess, that he's right. To
and they're not the same person. So
no,
you know,
absolutely.
it's you know,
and Foden did was kind of gradually increasing his appearances over time, wasn't he? I think like it's not a perfect comparison, but actually in terms of the impact he's had so quickly, it reminds me a little bit of Harry Kane's breakthrough season at Spurs, because it was a player we all knew a bit about. But it was like, oh my God, this guy's the finished article, like straight away.
Well,
how has this
Kane was
happened?
a bit of a slight of a.
He was a bit of a figure of fun almost, wasn't he? So, like I say, it's not a perfect comparison, but the sense was that when he got a run in the team, it's like, oh, wow, he's
and Pochettino,
like,
you know, played his part with Kane.
I was going to say, Jim, are you saying that Pochettino is Chelsea's Tim Sherwood?
Well, possibly. Someone has to be, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really, really impressive stuff from Palmer. It makes you wonder, you know, is this the level that we can expect from him every season, or is this a sort of
Well, you'd
like
think so, wouldn't you?
Well, there's something about his character, isn't there, that makes you think this is going to be a guy that's just bangs in goals for a decade.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like an anomaly, does it?
No, it doesn't.
Like even that first goal, which had a shade of Messi about it, that little kind of like 1-2 layoff, bends it in first time from that.
Little nutmeg in there somewhere as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it doesn't feel like an anomaly. It feels like there's an intelligence there which kind of lends itself to more consistent play as well. And yeah, it's interesting that Chelsea have become this place where he's emerged, and even someone like Madueke as well, kind of broadly similar. Poch had him at Spurs. He wanted more game time, like coming through there, left to PSV, and like now he's back in the Premier League. They're a weird kind of mix of like, here are the best young players in the world who've all gone off and done various different things.
Gentlemen, I've been patient enough. Is he going to go to the Euros?
I think even if he's not selected, he's the type of character that would just turn up.
Yeah.
Like just sort of assume there's been some sort of mistake.
Manages to sort of score. Well, I mean, the question now is, a lot of people aren't saying, should he go? People are saying, should he start? Now, again, you know, you are only allowed 11 in a team, and we don't want to overload Declan Rice in there. So
I'm having so much fun looking at those teams. Like, if you play him there behind the hole next to Bellingham, you've got Foden as well. They can swap.
Yeah, exactly.
And Declan's like, yeah, brilliant, mate. Thank you. Cheers.
He's going to be exhausted. People are talking about, you know, Foden, Bellingham, Saka. Presumably he's still a starter because he's been such a great player for England. So I don't think people are saying he should be taking this. You've got Foden, Bellingham, Saka, Kane, and Palmer in the same team. That's what some people are.
Well, it sorts out all the defensive issues, doesn't it? Just don't pick any.
And it feeds into perhaps what we are as, you know, our tradition. Get the ball up there. Long ball up to those boys.
The thing is, it wasn't long ago that people were talking about Jude Bellingham as the guy alongside Declan Rice. And I know that you have his qualities further up the field, and it's perhaps a waste of them to have him playing a bit deeper. But is it?
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. Yeah, in the World Cup, obviously, you had Rice in there, and then you had Henderson and Bellingham either side. So Bellingham did play that role where, you know, having that sort of V shape in midfield, if you like, rather than the two and behind the one. So I mean, you know, don't forget little Cobby, for crying out loud. Yeah, but the fact is though, if Cole Palmer is going to go in the squad, you know, you probably do miss out on, say, someone like Jarrod Bowen. Some people think, okay, great.
Well, not necessarily now.
If we get 26 players, maybe you don't.
I was about to move on to that because that hasn't been confirmed yet. UEFA are considering increasing the squad back to 26, which will save a lot of chat. You know,
And
he can go
Palmer
in.
will be the chief beneficiary of this.
Indeed,
really, wouldn't
he can
Or
go
one of the
in
chief
and we can have that
beneficiaries.
player, we can have that player. But if it is just 23, because it hasn't been confirmed yet at the time of recording that it is 26, if it is 23, again, I implore everybody to just jot down what you think the squad's going to be, because you will be surprised who you will have to leave out. It's very, very difficult. But it would seem criminal not to take Cole Palmer.
Yeah.
But also, like I say, are you going to drop, someone like Jared Bowen or one or two? Whatever, there will be tears unless we get the 26 men in these squads.
Tears of joy on the 14th
Tears
of July.
I mean, yeah, it's like a huge thing for Southgate because you're picking who's going to get a medal.
I'll tell you what,
responsibility.
if he does do that thing like he did in the Euros final, bring in a couple of boys to take penalties, if it is Ivan Toney and Cole Palmer, I would feel a bit more relaxed about that.
Yeah, definitely.
However, this confidence and this arrogance that Cole Palmer does have, especially when taking penalties, could England dash all that?
Oh, easily, yeah. Without doubt.
Marcus, they never all miss. They never all miss.
Owen
Don't worry about it.
Hargreaves scored against Portugal in 2006. Everyone else missed. Right. Speaking of penalties, gentlemen, I'd like to bring your attention to something that happened in La Liga, also on Monday. Ante Budimir had a chance to equalise from the spot for Osasuna against Valencia in the 97th minute. Crucial stuff. He completely muffed it up, though. I think he was trying to do a Panenka.
He kind of stumbled over it.
He stumbles and then he just basically flicks the ball incredibly tamely towards the goal, and the goalkeeper just looks at him and is like, "Thanks."
I'm a man who can fall over from just like standing still.
Yep.
And I recognise the sort of the lean there, actually. Because he's done the dummy bit of the Panenka, and then he just sort of wobbles a bit. He just sort of has this little unexpected lean and the little flick, and it's just a real shame. And it might be one of the worst penalties ever taken. It's a big shout, that, isn't it? But it is that bad.
Well, it technically...
Peter Devine. Do you remember Peter Devine?
That was a classic.
The star of...
Nick Hancock's Footballing Nightmares.
Yeah.
I mean, that was, he barely...
Because he hurt himself.
No, I think he feigned injury.
No, he hurt because he kicked the ground so hard.
But I guess the difference is this was on a carpet of a pitch.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like 20 years later.
The Peter Devine one is basically he swings at it, but the ball just catches the inside of his foot, so goes about half a foot in front of him. So the ball has gone forward, so therefore it's a penalty.
Yes.
But as his foot stumbles over the ball, it then stops the ball. So essentially he's rolled the ball about half a foot forward.
Yeah.
So that is easily the worst one. But you could argue that this penalty was on target, so anyone who's missed the
Well, that's
target...
the thing, because Valencia, for example, made a massive deal on their socials of Mamardashvili has saved another penalty. Big up our goalkeeper, as he had to wait for it to come, almost.
They all count.
They all count.
Yeah.
But Andy, if he'd have scored it, he'd have become joint top goal scorer in the Liga alongside Girona's Artem Dovbyk.
And it's a lovely story, actually, the Budimir story, because he was like a jobbing player in the second division in Italy. Went over to Mallorca on loan for a season when he was like, he must have been like 26, 27 at the time. Got Mallorca promoted. Continued to do well in the top flight at Mallorca, then got this move to Osasuna, and here he is. That would have taken him past Jude Bellingham and level with Dovbyk. Incredible story.
Also, are we sure he was trying to Panenka it?
I suspect. Well, he was certainly waiting for the keeper to move.
Yeah, but I think he was I think he basically he needed basically one more step in his run up.
Did he try to do the Lewandowski stutter? Do you think,
yeah, I think
the only thing I'm certain of is that he was trying to kick it.
And even then, we're not entirely sure, are we?
And he did, Jim, just not as hard as presumably he wanted to. All right, gentlemen, tonight we've got some Champions League action again. Manchester City host Real Madrid at 8 p.m. this evening. Manchester City have gone 22 Champions League games unbeaten at the Etihad. That's more than 5 years. And of course, we remember that breathtakingly good performance. Again, to do it justice, possibly the best performance I've ever seen from any team ever.
I mean, they
against Real
can't
Madrid.
do that again, can they?
Can't
Because
they?
that's like once in a generation.
But
sort of business.
I've got a feeling they might,
Yeah,
You think?
Would you say Real Madrid? I know this is obviously a different Real Madrid altogether, really, in terms of personnel. But
Not completely different.
no,
though.
but
largely,
certainly a better
in
one.
terms of the I suppose the big people in the dressing room that will prevent this from happening. But would you sense that Real Madrid are wary of, I suppose, of that, given what happened?
A little maybe, but
They've got more legs in the midfield, I think.
Well, exactly. Yeah.
I think it was, yes, they have. And I think it was interesting a couple of things that Ancelotti did in the last week. Firstly, that he said before the first game to the players, be brave. So forget what happened last year and just play your game. I think the other thing is, when you look at the team that he picked at the weekend, obviously he made a load of changes, 6 or 7 changes to line up when they went to Mallorca. The interesting thing is he rested Vinicius, etc., made Jude Bellingham play.
Yeah.
Because the sense is, and we sit here in this room quite often talking about how he's maybe the best player in the world, and that's not an unreasonable discussion. It's not been his best over the last couple of months.
How dare you?
And there's been this, how dare Ancelotti? Because Ancelotti makes him play thinking, yeah, you need to play yourself back into form. Because we didn't see great Jude Bellingham in that first game last week.
No, I think...
And they need great Jude Bellingham in this game if they're going to go through.
Well, you're right to say, I mean, the first few months at Real Madrid, it was just Roy the Rovers stuff, but it's not quite been that.
It's a hard standard to maintain.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, I think, talking about, as Vish and I did, about how I think there's a chance that City repeat this. When I say that, I don't expect them to do another one of the sort of all-time great performances in Europe, but I do think they can win comfortably.
Yeah,
it's just that they have turned the Etihad into a sort of European fortress, as you point out there, like with that more than 5-year unbeaten streak there. It's an impossible place to go at the moment, and obviously this is, as you say, a different Real Madrid team, better, different personnel, but still possibly scarred by what happened last year for the players that are still there. And City are in that groove at the moment, aren't they? They do become sort of machine-like at this stage of the season.
But I don't know. It doesn't quite feel that they've become that yet, and it doesn't quite feel that they need to become that, arguably. It touches on what you were saying, really, Jim. The fact that what Real Madrid know in their minds and what the rest of football know in their minds is the fact that to go through and to win comfortably, as you say, City don't need to reproduce what they did last year. The reality is, going into this, even against Real Madrid, who are probably the best other team in the competition apart from them, if City play well for 25 minutes, they can win with some comfort.
Well, this is it. I think the advantage they have, and it's obviously been built up over years and years of success, is that you sense there's no game they approach with any anxiety.
No.
And that is probably unique to them in the competition. And that's what an advantage that is.
I think defensively, there's something about it I don't, because last season they were obviously great defensively, good defensively. I think that Real Madrid can get at them as they showed in that first leg. I mean, 3-3 for crying out loud. So I don't think it will be as blisteringly good as last time, because that standard is the best of all time. But I still think that they can give them a good doing, and I think that Tchouaméni missing the matches, that he will be a miss for Real Madrid. There's no doubt about that. Will Jack Grealish feature? Because he looked quite sprightly at the Bernabeu, and he's coming back into form.
Good cast last couple of weeks for him. Yeah, definitely.
Have you seen he's revealed that he has a sauna for at least 10 minutes every night before he goes to bed, which I think that is something that we could predict.
Yeah, I'm delighted for him. I just want Jack to have a really happy, nice life, and he's delivering on that front.
I don't like that.
Do you not?
Why?
No?
You'd be too hot before bed, wouldn't you?
Well, he does sit in the garden for 10 minutes, doesn't he? Contemplating, so he says. I doubt he's thinking very deeply.
Vish, a source said, Jack loves to get steaming. Yeah, we saw it at the end of last season. When the time is right, and makes no apology for it. But it seems like he's matured. He's discovered there are different ways to spend your time. So
sitting in the garden.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, why not?
The idea that he thought, right, it's 7 p.m. I have to go out. I have to go out and get blitzed. But no, there are other things.
Blitz.
Sit in a sauna. Then in the garden.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There are other places to sit, Jack.
Those reporters will leave you well alone. Eventually, if you keep doing that for long enough.
I'm glad he makes no apology for that.
What's the steam made of, though? Is it some sort of vodka hot box?
Yes.
He's not Jamie Vardy, for crying out loud.
Is it full of empty balloons?
Oh dear. Both Pep Guardiola and Bernardo Silva have insisted it is too early for Man City to think about another treble.
Oh, shut up. It's pathetic.
Maybe in 2 years' time, but
just
not.
Get over yourselves.
Yeah.
Have some dignity.
Oh dear. Bayern Munich play Arsenal tonight at 8 p.m.
Play?
They are.
I missed that one.
You should tune in. They've got a few injury concerns themselves. Bayern, Serge Gnabry will miss the game. Kingsley Coman and Leroy Sané are also doubts. You'll be delighted that Gnabry's not going to play, sure.
Sané more so, actually, is good, even though Gnabry
Narrative
scored,
with Gnabry.
Sané was, yeah, exactly. Sané was fantastic at the Emirates.
He was.
Until he got taken off.
Yeah, I think that was an injury. Though,
Well,
surely,
perhaps.
Yeah, I mean,
because he was really good.
And Brassel mentioned that he's not the best tracker back.
Sure.
So,
No.
yeah.
Arsenal do have their own injury worries, of course. Arteta said they will assess Odegaard and Saka today to determine if they are fit. I've got a feeling they will
I
be.
think they'll be fine.
Mind games, bruv. Mind games.
Yeah, fill them full of gummy bears and get them on the pitch. Come on.
Southgate's reading that, thinking, "Oh yeah, I'm sure he is."
Now, obviously, you'll be gunning for an Arsenal win, Jim.
Sure.
See what I've done there. Apparently, there may well be some Tottenham fans wanting Arsenal to win this evening as well, because in a strange turn of events, that would benefit Tottenham, because Tottenham are 5th in the Premier League, and if English sides do well in Europe this season, 5 Premier League sides will qualify for the Champions League next season. Now, I know Spurs fans will go, well, I think you'll find that we want to finish 4th and hope Bayern Munich, blah, 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 blah. It is no doubt that it is in Spurs and Villa's interest that Arsenal win this game.
And that's exactly the way that Premier League fans will look at it.
Absolutely. Spurs fans, if you're listening, come on board. You're very welcome. Delighted to have you. Actually, I'll extend it to the Premier League as well, because Fulham, West Ham and Spurs have still got to play City. Come on, London. Get behind us.
Well, I mean,
Oh my God, he's turned into Boris Johnson.
How dare you? I've taken a lot of shit on this podcast over the years, Andy, but that crosses a line.
You
Look,
you are watching the match on a Russian yacht, though, aren't you?
If anyone's taking the underground today and you see a rival fan, say hello.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Smile.
Exactly.
Maybe a nice firm handshake as well. Wish them all the best.
Yeah.
But I think I'd like this this call out, Jim. I think we all need to get behind Arsenal, especially those of us who live in London. And do you know what? I think the rest of the country loves getting behind London. You know, they really like.
Brighton's often called London on Sea. A lot of people commute from
I'm
one to
thinking
the
more
other.
the
They
North,
can get
Jim.
on board as well.
Yeah, the northern cities. They're
always down having a look, aren't they? always down.
I think we've just
Have a seat, have a chat.
Exactly, yeah. I think we've just ensured that Bayern Munich have made a few extra shirt sales in parts of the kingdom.
I was perfectly polite.
Can I ask
You were.
if you could put your? I suppose you've already put your Arsenal fan hat on, but I was speaking to another Gooner yesterday, and they were, because of what happened on the weekend, they were like, "Well, I'm going to brace to lose this," and I was like, "What? You were in such good shape during the first
It
leg."
did feel a bit doomy and gloomy after the weekend. I mean,
Yeah.
Pete Donaldson has written off Liverpool and Arsenal for the Premier League
Yes,
title.
he has.
I kind of understand that, though.
He says a lot of things.
He does, yes. Most of that we edit out, but
He's not alone in that, is he though?
no, Andy. There are some people who, quite frankly, in this operation, shouldn't have a microphone in front of their face. But staying with football, how do you feel about it, Jim? Because I think Vish raises a fair
Yeah, well, I mean,
point there, or that particular friend of his does.
with my Arsenal hat on, I do have to try and remember that football moves very quickly and changes very quickly, and that like if Arsenal play well tonight, it might suddenly seem like a surprise result because of what happened against Villa, and a lot's been made of the fact that that Bayern Munich and Aston Villa set up in what would be known as a mid-block in modern football parlance to sort of congest the middle a bit and kind of break the structure of Arsenal there. So that's something that
long ball over it
has been very sort of, yeah. That's something they're going to have to adapt to, I think, and actually maybe having that twice in a row with how forensic Arteta can be might actually be a good thing to some degree. I think the really, really important thing is about playing the game and not the occasion.
That's
not
it.
being nervous.
Yeah.
Because that's what led to really both goals, I think, at the Emirates. They were both so avoidable.
Let's
little
remember,
mistakes can absolutely kill you in the Champions League.
Exactly. Let's remember, Arsenal are good enough to win this game.
That's it, Andy. Give London and the whole of the UK something to get
They
behind
are good
here.
enough to win this game, and they are good enough, Jim, to stop Bayern playing the bloody can.
Well, see, this has been years in the making, this, isn't it? As long-term listeners of the show will know, I do think it's the funniest thing in the world that when Bayern Munich score,
It's
Fred
not every goal,
Flintstone.
is it?
I think it's every goal.
it's
at
every
home.
goal.
Is it every goal?
It's sometimes the 8th goal, Marcus. Fred Flintstone shouts "Yabba Dabba Doo." They play the can, and they all run around like having a brilliant time. Where the away fans are sitting there thinking, "Yeah, we're just a joke to them, aren't we? We're just a joke."
I want Bayern to win tonight.
I'm hoping to not hear it tonight.
They play
I
it for
want
far
it
too long.
hard.
Far too long.
Andy, I want them to win tonight.
No,
Sorry,
no,
I'm
no,
breaking.
no,
I'm
no.
breaking.
I want Arsenal to win,
Yeah.
and I want.
That's a consolation.
5 minutes is called a consolation on the 90th minute.
Still play it.
Yeah, we're contractually obliged to play
no.
Fred Flintstone into the can.
Yabba dabba do.
It's a big test of Arteta really as well, because Thomas Tuchel is very, very good in the Champions League. He's been in the final a couple of times. He's obviously won it as well, and these are the kind of it's a very unique environment, isn't it? And we've seen Arsenal have been less than convincing in the away games in the Champions League. So there needs to be a massive, massive upturn in form in that specific scenario tonight. So
if I may, to spin it somewhere, when people talk about the Villa game, the Villa game can actually sharpen the mind and focus.
Well, absolutely,
because
yeah.
you kind of think to yourself, right, come on,
okay, we
up
do
and
have
at
some
'em.
flaws that
Yeah,
maybe
exactly.
we've not been aware of.
Exactly.
So it makes you tighten up. And the thing that you have to do based on the first leg is tighten up. They can win the game, absolutely. It's going to be a big ask because of the experience of Bayern, regardless of the season they've had. Tuchel's been talking about not necessarily wanting the ball that much as well, which might be mind games. It's going to be a very interesting game from behind the sofa.
And just to add to that, Jim, remember, a draw, it would go to penalties. Oh dear, I sounded like Vish's brother there, didn't I?
You did actually, yeah.
Have you
on
played-
Halloween.
Have you played? No, whenever Man United lose a game. You've sold the listeners this, haven't you?
Yeah, no, but he laughs, he giggles like a maniac.
Yeah, but it is kind of like a kind of sound.
Yeah. I'll play it on Uncut.
You'll play it on Monday. Because no doubt he'll have sent you a new one.
Yeah.
Let us finish with some good news, some justice that has been done. It's particularly Saudi justice. Now, usually that is...
Christ.
but the Saudi FA are to review their fan code of conduct after that supporter was seen whipping a player in the Saudi Super Cup recently.
They have a spectacular code of conduct,
Right,
apparently.
okay.
No whips.
Yeah, well, not unreasonably. I don't think they thought to put that in.
Wow. Is that a loophole?
As I say, well done then. Well done, everybody.
Thanks for watching a clip from the Football Ramble podcast. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a video. And if you're feeling extra generous, why don't you like this video? Why don't you like this video?